welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm so excited today because if you're watching this, the likelihood is you've just booked your first client or you're still very new in the game and you probably have a lot of thoughts around, okay, I've booked the client, but how am I supposed to behave on set? What is it I'm supposed to do? So in this video, I'm gonna share with you what I consider a very general set etiquette that's going to work for you across a multitude of markets and general situations where you will be on set as a makeup artist, whether that's working with a director or a photographer. Point number one, it goes without saying you're going to be working in a team more times than not, so you want to be considerate of everyone who is there. Think about the space you take up when you open up your suitcase. If there's a table, have you left enough room for the hair person or the styling person? Being considerate will go so far when you're on set. Having great communication where you're asking people who's coming, who needs what space, let me know if you need extra. Being incredibly supportive to those other team members is going to be a big part of what gets you booked again. The second thing I want you to remember when it comes to set etiquette is thinking about the call sheet is your North Star. So before you're going to ask any questions around the structure of the day, around what they want shooting when, you want to always check the call sheet first. So something I used to do as a makeup artist was actually print out my call sheets. So again, this was pre-smartphones when I first started in the industry. I would always print out my call sheet so I had something to kind of stick on the mirror, something to help me look at schedule or time slots if that was something that was included. But it also meant if a call sheet stated anything that was non-disclosure related or anything that was expected of us on the day, I could show up and behave from a place of understanding what had already been said to me within that call sheet. Check your call sheet, read it all the way through and make sure that's your first port of call before you ask any questions on set. So it makes sense that as a makeup artist, we're going to need to run in and do touch-ups. We're going to be checking the monitor, which is on set if there is one, and thinking about, does everything look okay? Is there any shine on camera? Is there any continuity we need to be considering? What needs fixing and tweaking, and making sure we're aware of that. But when it comes to stepping in, we want to make sure we're asking permission. So especially when it comes to working with a photographer or a director, it's not gonna look good if we're interrupting them or just walking into set uninvited. Just politely ask, hey, would it be okay if I run in and fix something? Or let me know if there is a moment that would be good for me to run in and fix that. So you can make people aware that something needs fixing, but I recommend doing it in a way that just lets them give you the go-ahead to walk on set versus you just doing it. So again, make sure you are invited to go in and actually do any changes, do any tweaks, make any edits once you've had the go-ahead. Because the director, the photographer, they could be in their zone, they could be getting something that's really important that may not even have the hair or makeup in it. So we want to make sure we are always invited onto set. When it comes to the monitor being on set, if there is a monitor, you want to make sure you're not blocking the view for anybody else as well. So if there is a monitor, you'll be able to see exactly what the camera is seeing. And again, take into consideration the lighting, the positioning of everything, how the model is moving with the hair and makeup. But I want you to think about the client especially. Often the monitor is there for the client to get an idea of, is the shoot going the way they want it? So make sure when you are in front of the monitor, you are always mindful of that you're not blocking anybody's view, and everyone who needs to see the monitor can see it. So it goes without saying, we want to make sure we have great communication and we're always being considerate. But beyond that, I want you to think as well that it's really important not to presume anything when you're on set. So what I mean by this is I've seen it happen where someone presumes just because someone is younger that they are the assistant, or maybe they're there to help out, whereas in actual fact they could well be the director, the photographer, or the client. So it's really important when you're on set that again you treat everybody with equal respect, and this should go without saying, but I have seen it happen in the industry where people make assumptions based on somebody's age as to what their job is within the shoot. So don't presume anything. So I know a lot of the questions I get around set etiquette come back to assisting as well, and I think when we're assisting, it's very nuanced because everybody who has assistants will want to be assisted differently. So I always recommend, if you are assisting someone, to ask them, how do you like to be assisted? How can I best support you so that you can get as much information up front as possible? It makes sense that learning their workflow or how they like their kit or how they they want to work best may take you a few times to master, but it goes a long way if a key artist can see you actually care about being a great assistant, about showing up and helping them in a way that is beneficial to them. I always think there's cues when you're assisting. What do they unpack first? What do they put away last? What is their workflow? Which brushes are they reaching for the most? And again, this is where be considerate, be helpful. Now, I want to add a caveat here as well, because while I say everyone assists differently and wants their assistants to do different things, I also want to point out you don't have to assist. I'm going to do a whole separate video on this, but when it comes to assisting, if you are going to assist, be there for the key artist. That is your job as an assistant, but it's also not the only way to be successful as an artist. Gone are the days of having to be on set or work your way up the ladder. That is a really big philosophy I have, and it's something I really believe is that you no longer have to assist if you don't want to. And there's no perfect amount of time that you should assist for. Again, work on mastering your art, learn the business of being a makeup artist. It always comes back to being courteous and thinking about how you can best communicate with everyone on set. Another question I get a lot about set etiquette is taking photos versus not taking photos. And again, I really think it comes down to, are you assisting someone? Are you not assisting someone? Has there been any heads up within prior communication or within the call sheet that states no social media behind the scenes? If that's the case, be respectful of that. I think when it comes to it being your own client, how can that be something that you either bridge with a client beforehand, or if it is something where you're taking photos of your work to use later, just make sure you aren't posting anything until the client has posted it. And where possible, always get permission. I think as well, when it comes to getting really nice behind the scenes for you to use on your Instagram or B-roll in your own reels or marketing, think about how can you create content that doesn't have anything to do with the shoot in of itself. So maybe a behind the scenes shoot you get is your kit. Maybe it's you laying your kit out, products you're using without showing the model's face, without giving anything away that the client would be upset about. Ask questions, use common sense, but I think when it comes to creating your own content, what can you use that isn't identifiable with the job you are doing? And it goes without saying, when it comes to your phone, be mindful of having it on set. Put it on silent when everyone's shooting. Make sure you're not the person who's always on their phone looking completely disinterested and wishing they weren't there. People will notice. Again, you want to make sure you are checking the monitor. You want to make sure you are looking for things that need fixing, tweaking, or editing as you go along, and asking permission to run in when you need to. And again, when you are going in on set, try not to be there for 5-10 minutes. Think about how can you get in, do the tweaks you need to do, and get out again, because everybody wants the day to go as smoothly as possible. And when it comes to being on set, a lot of the times there is a certain amount of shots that have to get done, or a certain amount of footage that has to be created, and everything is running to a time schedule. It will always be noticed favorably when you can work quickly, for the fact that if a shoot overruns, it costs the client more money, it costs the photographer more money, there's going to be more edits to be made. So time is always money when it comes to being on set, whether you're shooting photography or video. So there were some general considerations when it comes to set etiquette. I also want to remind you I have an incredible free training for you, which is going to show you how to double your bookings in any market and book the clients you want, even if you're starting from scratch, even if you don't have a website yet, and maybe you've just got your first client or you're about to have your first client. This training will walk you through exactly what you need to do to build a successful business as a makeup artist. I will leave that in the description box for you. Don't forget to subscribe if this was helpful, share it with another creative, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.